Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge of the Brawler Cafe. As promised, we are now moving into the Darkus analysis for Resurgence. Yeah. Okay, so first, starting off, Darkus Fist support card, Darkus Slicer. This isn't anything super incredible, like it's in B power gain, it's just like one cost for plus 200. But I think it's a decently notable card just for the fact that, hey, it's also giving you a plus 3 damage, so in overall value, it's giving you like 2.5 energy. It's just that some of that is in damage. But as far as the damage booster goes, this is actually like one of the way better cards. Because like you're still getting your power plus 200 anyways. So it's pretty decent and I like mentioning it. Also for damage boosters, a brief mention that Darkus got their Fireball. They got a 1 cost plus 3 damage card. Which is nice to mention for like any super hyper aggro decks. Since this sort of card has been relevant. Fireball has been relevant there in the past. Then we've got Dust to Dust. This is one of many cards, not necessarily in this set, but in this set and Age of Orlis and Battle Brawlers combined. That would be way better if we had better or more discard fodder cards, as in cards that play themselves for free when you discard them, or do some other effect when you discard them. It's 3 cost plus 300 sacrifice. You may discard a card to draw 2 cards. As far as generic use goes, Anger in Pyrus is a lot better than this. But should we get good discard fodder in the future, this could be really good. Dark Fortune. This is probably the best Darkus card in this set. Dark Fortune is 3 cost to search your deck for any Evo card. So any deck that's super reliant on one specific Evo to do its thing, Dark Fortune is just, it makes Darkus an auto include for those decks, and it gives those decks a huge amount of boosted consistency should they need it. This is especially useful for like in Age of Orlis, there's Reliscorine, who can evolve through Underdog. If he has the lower B power when he opens, he can evolve into his next stage for free, but he's effectively a 3-stage evolution. Base form, and then Hyper, and then Maximus. And Maximus is the stuff that you want to be getting to. So since you do need those two different Evo cards for that Bakugan effectively, Dark Fortune is really useful for that, because, hey, bit of a combo deck, want to get that out as fast as possible. Green, what makes Green good is the fact that you're able to go, hey, I'm a big 1600 boy very early in the game. And the fact that they get played down for free is great in general for Dark Fortune. Like, Dark Fortune, I think, works really well with Evos that play themselves for free, that are doing something useful, like with Chaos Maximus Mantanoid Ultra, or the new Darkus Hyper Vice Rocks from Age of Orlis, any of the Underdog evolutions, and of course anything that needs a specific Evo, like Orlis Hyper Trox, or any of the high cost stuff like Pyrus Titan Dragonoid is another good application, good example of something that likes Dark Fortune a lot. Basically anything, as I said, that is super reliant on its strategy revolves around this one specific Evo, so having extra copies effectively of that Evo, even if it's fairly high cost, costs you quite a bit of tempo, 3 energy, and it's still low enough that you could always one energy it with super fuel, so you know, there's that. So yeah, I like this card a lot. Doesn't really fit into every deck, but it's a huge boon for the decks that wanted this kind of search effect. Mind Control. This is a 5 cost. Your opponent reveals their hand, and then you can play an action card from it for free, gain its effect, and put it into your opponent's discard pile. Now, this is just more discard hand control support. It's pretty high costed for what it does, to be honest, and it's really easy for your opponent to counterplay it. But this can still allow for some really powerful plays, so I do think it's worth noting, especially since the Resurgence version of hand control is still mono Darkus, and you don't have a whole lot of amazing cards that aren't hand control stuff to fit into decks there. So, you know, being able to steal one of your opponent's probably better B power boosting actions is quite handy to have access to. Similarly, we have the first reroll for Darkus, Mindstep. This is fantastic. I love this card. 2 costs to reroll and also discard a card from your opponent's hand. Fantastic card. I love this a lot. It combos particularly well with some a specific Bakugan in Age of Aurora that I will be talking about when we get into the analysis of that set. But just as a whole, it's another relatively low cost discarder that's also a reroll, which is just nice. It's just nice. Another reroll, Second Strike. This was the first reroll card that was ever revealed. It's nothing amazing nowadays. It's a split between B power and damage boosting with plus 300 and plus 4 damage, and it's 3 cost, which is like when you've got 4 1 cost or lower rerolls in between Aquos and Pyrus, in addition to stuff like Riptide that like give more B power than this and also draw you 2 cards. It really makes this card lackluster. But if you're running mono Darkus for whatever reason, you take what you get. Similarly, Shadow Dogs. Shadow Dogs is directly comparable to Riptide, basically, in how much worse it is. You're getting 100 less B than you would off of Riptide, and unlike Riptide, you need to actually win the battle to get the big benefit from it. Yeah, I would have honestly taken just a discard 1 or no, or just no discard at all, like or no B power at all, no B power boost at all, to get the guaranteed discard 2. Like, it's not like discard 2 is too powerful for a 4 cost. Like, we literally have a discard 2 action that costs 4 in set 1, and this has a mandatory reroll. I don't know, I just wish this had a lower B boost so that it could actually be guaranteed. But as it is, depending on that Victor, when you're paying 4 and like getting half the value 4 energy would typically give you, it's not great. Like, it's not super reliable. So I don't think this is a very good card. Like, when you could just be running Thought Decay and just get the discard 2 just immediately, like, I don't think it's very good. And with that, we're done with the actions and heroes, because there's like no heroes for Darkus in this set. And moving along to character cards and evolution. So first up, we have Darkus Fangor Ultra. This is pretty good. Comes with a magic shield, 600 B power, and natural shadow strike. The biggest issue, of course, is that it has a relatively low damage rating, but like, you can really easily afford 1 low damage rating Bakugan on a team without really like making your deck go any significant amount slower, because you can just make that Bakugan your team attacker, and then it's just going to be able to piggyback off your other attacks. Its evolution is only plus 400 for 3, so it's a bit below par, but still gets you to that 1000 threshold, and it's giving you a bit of a damage boost. And the base form is like the 600B plus magic shield is just really solid. Like, it's the best magic shield user in Darkus currently. Then we've got Nilius Ultra. This Bakugan is fantastic. Double shield, 206, gets plus 400B on a shield, so it goes up to 900 or 1000. And because it's Nilius Ultra, you can like very easily just grab 2 cores. If those are 2 shields, you're going up to 1200 with plus 300s, or 1400 with plus 400 shields. All around fantastic. It just becomes better with its evolution. Hyper Nilius Ultra pumps itself up to 1700 and 8 damage. So it's not quite an on par. No, wait, no, it is. It's, sorry, for a second there I thought this was a 4 cost, but no, it's 3 cost. And you're getting plus 700 off that, so it's above par. It's effectively bone defenses in addition to 2 damage. Like, that's the sort of evo you generally want to be seeing. Something that's at least on par or a bit above par for energy costs in the B power department. Those are the evos that tend to be really, really good. Yeah. Then we have Darkus Tutorium Ultras. This is the last one we're covering? Yeah, this is the last one we're covering. This is notable for a similar reason that Fangor is. He's a magic shield Bakugan with 500B, decent 3 damage, and he also comes with a fist, which, you know, can proc fist cards, which is always decently notable. Now, the main reason I want to talk about him is that his evolution is not very good, guys. This is a Bakugan that, like many others, like Dust to Dust, has a lot of future potential, but because we don't have many good discard fodders right now, his discard your hand is a very, very real cost. His high damage can be comboed with Might of Cindeus, but because you have to discard your hand, you have to have like 6 energy or 3 energy with 4 energy with comboing with Super Fuel. One of those 2 things has to happen. Did I get that right? Yeah, I got that right. That means like comboing him with Might of Cindeus or Mac is not super reliable because of that discard cost, which means like you'd have to be relying on top decks for future turns. For even just 4 costs, his B power gain is not super worthwhile. You're only getting plus 500 for 4 costs, which is 300 below par. Obviously, it's supposed to make up for it in the damage department, but because the combo with Might of Cindeus is unreliable, and like the other thing is like basically all of the discard fodder cards that currently exist are just damage boosters, which is not the department that Titan Titanium Ultra is lacking in. So yeah, I really wish it was designed the other way around, because like or if they just printed, but I really want better damage fodder, discard fodder, because like there are cards like this that have a lot of potential, but until we get better discard fodder, they're just like throwing them in the binder for a rainy day, I guess. And as far as Fury proccing goes, this is really bad for proccing Fury. This is way too late. You should be having Fury going on turn 3, not going on like turn 5. Like proper Fury decks will have reloaded with low cost cards to just naturally get Fury out and don't need the help of a discard your entire hand card. They really don't need that. They get there much better and while producing a lot more good results. Fury decks I see with this Bakugan tend to be completely reliant on this Bakugan to even get into Fury, and that's not how you should be running that archetype. And lastly, we have got the flips. So Darkus, as per usual, got some pretty good flips. They got their 0 cost Darkus Snare, which stops Magic Shields. Magic Shields are, of course, very, very good. Best core type in the game. So, free cost flip to stop though. Anything holding that is pretty good. But the real gem, I think, is Sonic Shield. Because Sonic Shield is 1 cost to stop a Bakugan holding a Fist or Flaming Fist. These are probably the 2 most common core types in the entire game. Because they're the weakest B power wise, so like really good, naturally good Bakugan will end up having these. And this only becomes stronger because Fist is a really strong archetype, and Flaming Fist, because of the core type bonuses of Bakugan like Aurelius Hydra Ultra, and Chaos Zirconium, as well as Pyre Serpentine is really strong open all Flaming Fist effect. Though this will not stop that. But that makes those 2 core types probably the most common in the game. So of the core type flips, this is one of the best. I think this and Confuse, which is a Chaos one, are probably tied for the 2 best. But on the other hand, you're already in Darkus and you already have access to Pact of Darkness. So on the other hand, I'm just like, well, you can already run Pact. Like it's a budget option at least. And extra flips if you need them. But like as good as this flip is, as far as core type flips go, my mind always has to go, okay, but you have access to Pact already. Do you really need this? So you know, I'll tend to favor other stuff typically. But if we get sideboards, of course. Like as always, these core type flips all become exponentially better if we get a tournament format with sideboards. I actually kind of want to run like a tournament experimenting with sideboards here, like a decently sized sideboard. I know like Homeboy down in, I don't know where he is, I can't remember where he is, but I know his locals has experimented with like 3 card sideboards, but I think that's too small. I think you need like at least 10 cards. So I would like to experiment with that actually. But regardless, that is it for Darkus. Yeah. See you guys next time with Chaos. And with that, this is Hunter Surge signing off.